should be live. Okay, that makes sense. I hope my live stream is working, and if you can see me live, let me know. Yeah, I think I'm live. And hopefully, if somebody can just send a message on the chat, then I can be sure that I'm seeing the chat messages. Okay, hey Elena. Cool, you can see me. That's good to know. Yeah, I had a few false starts in the beginning, so I wasn't sure what was happening. I'm just spinning some beehive yarn. I know the colors are appearing very blue on the screen, but it's actually very purple. It is blue too, but it's more purple than blue. Thank you, Kimberly. Thanks for letting me know. This thick slab is not formed well, but let's see if we can add enough twist to it to save it. See, every now and then there is something weird like this, but in fact it made a much better beehive. So So the way I have spun this thick and thin, if you notice, I have two thick slabs next to each other, and then I have a significantly longer, thinner section. Oh, good to know, Elena, that you're spinning as well. It's been a while, I think. Or maybe you are just spinning in silence and I haven't heard about it. That's probably it. But I know you have been busy, so hopefully I'm glad you're getting some spinning time. I don't know, is it snowing in your area? It isn't in ours. You know how with Washington we just get a whole bunch of false alarms, whether, okay, see, I broke my single. And that's the disadvantage of having two thick slabs right next to each other, especially when I'm doing this kind of hand manipulation. Okay, I think that should be fine. All right. Okay. Not my best join there, but it'll have to do. Oh, it is snowing here. No, no sign at all of it. I just felt like we cheated. Promised a snow day and nothing happened. So what I'm going to try now is I'm not going to lock it at the bottom of it, because I feel that when I do that, I tend to break my yarn there, because the two slabs are together and there's very less twist between it. But I'll lock it at the end and that should be good. Hey Quina. Hey Diana. Okay, after I have done the beehive, am I twisting some of the core yarn that's in my left hand around? Oh, we have just, I've just started, so no worries. Uh, so yeah, what I do is I do lock my beehives at the beginning and the end of the beehive. What I'm doing, since in this particular thick and thin, I have two thick sections right next to each other. I'm not, usually I'll lock it here and I'll lock it here at the end of the beehive. But because these two thick sections are together, when I tend to do that, I can remove twist here and break my yarn. So I'm locking it here. I make the second beehive and I lock it at the end of the beehive. And I do that by changing the tension. So right now I have both the threads on equal tension. So it's almost like an even twist going between the two yarns, as you can see. Then I take this perpendicular that locks it at the top, and it's just like one or two twists, that's all it needs. And then twist this up and push it up. And see, I'm always tempted to do that, lock it up again. That wasn't a nice beehive, but that wasn't a nice thick slab. And then I just lock it in place that way. Oh, that makes sense. Because the reason why I lock it is, if you don't lock it, what I've noticed is that your beehive can travel and loosen up. Uh, Once it is locked up this way, the beehive will stay here. It's not going to like slide down or slide up and become all loose when you have washed the fiber. Like, see this, let me pull some out and you can see. This beehive, I did not lock it very well, and see, this is what it does. But if it's locked up well, it stays in place. It will not spiral around like that. And that was not a very good beehive. In fact, the thick section wasn't very good, so that's the reason why I couldn't, you know, make a nice beehive. But it made a decent spiral. So in order to make a good beehive, it's pretty essential to also have decent thick sections. Like, you need to spin your thick and thin singles properly, because if you don't, then your beehives also don't turn out very neat. So I learned this locking of the beehive technique from JC Boggs Faulkner in one of her classes. Uh, and I have, you know, over a period, you learn a particular technique from someone, and then some things work for you, some things don't. And like for the most part, I make my beehives very similar to how she taught in that class. But the only variation I do is, which I picked up from, I think Susie Brown or someone else, that while rolling on my beehive, I add an extra twist into the beehive. That way it becomes even more well defined. I can see the ridges much better. So, will you be adding locks or something? You see them in the background. I was going to. There was a whole different plan for spinning this particular yarn. I attempted some of it and it is not going as planned. So that's why the locks have been set aside. I had all these locks prepared. They were all supposed to go along with the beehives. But it's not going to happen because my few attempts of them, for what I had planned in mind, I didn't quite like them. And I was like, you know what, let's just keep it simple. Let's just have the beehives do what they're doing, and that should be enough. Again, gentle twist and lock it. So I make these tiny little woolen beads which I like, and I'm also making sure that I'm not treadling too fast, because you can very easily add a lot of twist in this yarn, and I don't like it when that happens. So treadle slowly. Sometimes when I chat, I forget the speed I need to be at in order to maintain that, because you get into your default spinning mode. And again, you can make really fluffy beehives. In that case, I wouldn't be adding that extra twist. I would just quickly push it on, and it makes a really big, poofy kind of beehive, which looks really nice. But I think they don't wear too well. Like, I'm even almost afraid to wash that yarn because I feel it's just gonna fall apart. These I can easily feel. I feel comfortable like dunking them in water and giving it a proper wash to set it up, and I know I'm not going to lose that definition in them. So there are many ways. It's all up to you as to how you want your beehives. Now you could spin these thick sections extra thick as well, or even tinier than what I have here, and that works as well. Hi Amy, could you use silk thread as the core for making beehives? Yes, in fact, it's actually better to use a little slippery thread. What I'm using here is actually two strands of a lace weight merino, which I have just, um, you know, this is not hand spun, this is commercial lace weight yarn. I just found the colors similar to what I was doing, so I just took two strands of them. You need it to be strong. Just one of these by itself is very weak. Like while I'm doing the beehives, it would just break. That's the reason why I need two strands. So that gives me that extra strength. But If it's too grabby, actually, I'll show you uh, during which step you're gonna have trouble. You might, I've noticed I do. So when I take this and I roll it up, you know, I'm twisting it, this is fine. Now I push it up. Now, if your thread is very grabby, I found it hard to push it up. It kind of tends to grab where it is and then it doesn't coil up nicely. So, if you have silk, actually, that might be even better because it just slip right through. But also, that means that you need to make extra sure that you um, lock your beehive in the beginning and the end of it, because if it is so slippery, then your beehive will keep sliding up and down and it'll lose its definition. However, if it was a grabby core, maybe you don't even need to lock it, it will just stay there, but also your spiral might stay there and you might not be able to push it up. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, it'll go like this on the grabby yarn, and when you go to push it up, it'll just be stuck here because all these fibers would have grabbed onto that textured yarn, whatever you have. You can try it, and uh, because I tried it and that's what I found, so I always found it better to have a much slippery thread when I'm doing kind of um, this kind of yarn. So yeah, silk will look really nice too. And this is some very fine merino commercially spun yarn. But yeah, locking it in the top and the bottom I think is almost essential. I sometimes don't quite like the look of it if I'm looking at it close up because I can see that, that yarn locking it on the top. But in order to maintain that structure of the yarn, I feel it's kind of important to keep that. Now, one thing I wanted to show here was that the yarn that the fiber that I'm using right now um, is from a top. So that's the kind of beehives I'm getting. Uh, After some time, hopefully I'll be able to tell. It's going to turn into the same fiber, but that was um, put on a hackle and then dished off, and I made thick and thin slabs out of that. So the colors will be more muted. I almost feel that has started right now. No, no, there's still some time, and those make even neater beehives, is what I've noticed. I spun the thick and thin. This I have not spun. No, this is commercial yarn that I'm using, Stacy. See that one I didn't push up enough, so it's a little bit looser. See, there's these small things which, in beehives, it's almost like a 5-step thing. And see, this one is nice and tight. That's not moving around, so that's a lot more. It's going to hold up much better than that particular one. Yes, even that will hold up, but just paying attention to every beehive does make a difference. Slow threading really helps in getting that nice definition there. I'd like to thank all my Patreon supporters who have been making these videos possible. I'm sorry I wasn't live more often last week because I was busy with introducing my new mugs, but they definitely got first dibs on the new mugs, and it's after that I release them to the rest of the people. So, but yeah, I didn't get much chance to go live last week, and even this week I was like, I wanted to spin this, so I said, okay, let me go live. But I kind of wanted to try something, which is why the locks are kept on the side. Um, since I wasn't sure what I was doing, I kept attempting it and it wasn't working. And I said, okay, I can't go live with it. It's too much trying to figure out what I'm doing and learning and figuring out and talking to people. So I said, let me just do regular beehives. I do like doing these, so I like that one. See, when they become nice and crisp, I really like them. I like them even otherwise. They are very satisfying to make. Okay, now I have a feeling this is. Have I started that yet? No, I think I'm still working on the regular top. I don't even have a real indication on when my disc off from the hackle fiber will start and when the stop section will be done. But maybe I will be able to tell because I did try beehives with um, the fiber that I disced off the hackle, and the even these are nice and crisp, but those also are just beautifully crisp. It's really very satisfying to spin those. But spinning the thick and thin was so much more easier than from the fiber from the hackle because it's nice and it's open and you're not struggling with compacted fiber, because fiber does compact to some extent once it's dyed, unless it's superwash, then that fiber doesn't do anything. That's also pretty nice to make thick and thin stuff out of, but I don't uh, use much superwash yarn. The fiber I have here is all merino. Even my core thread is merino. So, and this is also one of those yarns which really benefits from a wash. The twist really settles. The beehives really make nice compact shapes. Any other questions? What is the thick and thin fiber? That's merino. That's 100% merino. The last beehives which I had that short video in which I was making the beehives, that was Falkland. But this is merino that I dyed myself. Even that Falkland was fiber I dyed myself. But the Falkland makes bigger beehives than this because it's a longer staple length. So the staple length, the the crimp of the fiber makes a difference as to how puffy and big your beehives are going to be. Also, what depends is how thick section, or how thick of a section you use. Thank you. And Elena, the color which you're seeing on camera is not really accurate. The fiber is a lot more purple than blue. Means it has blue sections in it, but it's um, it's definitely a lot more purple in some sections. But it's all reading as blue on this. Like here, this looks completely blue, but the top half of it, wherever you're seeing dark blue, it's actually a very dark purple. My camera just doesn't like picturizing purples well. I've tried different cameras. In fact, this camera is pretty close to the real colors. Some of them just don't do anything right. For others who are watching, Elena is also a Patreon supporter from the very beginning, right? And you have quite a collection of my work. Yeah, and computers. So there is one thing where it's like I don't know what your computer settings are, so how it's making it look. But there is your computer settings versus my camera settings, and as to what I'm seeing versus what you are seeing. Color is just quite crazy to figure out sometimes on these digital devices. You need more. Well, you know where to find me, and you can take advantage of your Patreon perks, so that's always good. This week, well, today I have to start prepping up clay for making my next round of mugs. They are going to be, I'm going to have some of my regular stockinette, but a lot of them are going to be with the new color stripe fine stockinette pattern. Yeah, message me. You know how to get in touch with me. But yeah, I'm going to be uh, working on the new color stripe mugs, and I have some pre-orders to work on. Plus, people keep messaging me about, are they sold out? When I can make more? When can I get one? So the best way would be to place a pre-order for them, and then that way you can be sure it's getting into the next firing. Uh, but this I'm just talking in general to people who are listening, not to you specifically, Alina. You know how to get in touch with me and ask for what you need. but but yeah, it's the way things work on the website is like I will have updates when I have a kiln unloading, and I will show what all is there in it. But if you want to be sure that the glazes of your choice and the mug of your choice is in there, you can always put a pre-order in, and I can make sure it goes in the kiln. so you don't have to wait for the next cycle. Hey Wendy, good morning. Is it snowing where you are? I, I've been waiting for it to snow since morning. I keep checking my forecast and it says, yes, it's gonna snow, and there's like no sign. We didn't even get a tiny snowflake yet. And see, I'm spinning all purple. Okay, I have a feeling that these puffs which you're seeing are much more crisp and clear. Yes, these I think are, yeah, these might be from the hackled fiber because I can almost feel the difference. So it could be. I thought I had a marker in between, but I'm not sure now. It is more blended, the fiber also, color wise, but I do see a color differentiation, so maybe not. Hello, Gianluca. I hope I'm saying your name right. I'm almost 100% sure I'm not. And I don't understand Spanish, but I think that's a good thing that you said. Let's just assume that. And that if that is Spanish, I don't even know. Oh, I should try my Google Translate app, which I recently downloaded. And it's I just have to point my camera to the text and it translates it. So let's see. if it works. Does it translate to what a beauty? Oh, hi, Karen. Feel free to join me uh, on my chat. I don't know if you can see me, so hold on just a second, people. Let me see what's happening here. Uh, okay. Okay, let's continue. Uh, I should show you my bobbin after some time. It's looking really amazing. I thought it said ciao bello, which I think, yeah, hi handsome. Oh my goodness. See, I have no no clue. I'll take that too. You cannot see me, so yeah, my Google Translate was translating it to what a beauty. So I don't know, but it translated that for a second and then it stopped. So I don't know if it figured something was off or what. How beautiful, yeah. Well, it all works out. Also, the other thing which I feel really helps when making these beehives is that once you have twisted on and rolled up your beehive, just give it another one or two treadles before pushing it up, and that makes the ridges even more well defined. And we all keep, you're watching these techniques to pick up on new things and figure out what different you can do to make your beehives more defined or something else. I think the best way to figure out what works is to actually do it and try different things all the time till or if you learn one particular new thing, what I'm doing, say I'm adding that extra twist while making the beehive, uh, keep trying that a good number of times for your entire thick and thin, and get your hands accustomed to it, see if you really like it, or see if it's for you, or if you go like, no, it's too much of a pain to do. I just like to roll it all on quick, and that works too. But try the technique a few times, and you will eventually realize that, oh, when I did this, I actually like it, and you kind of introduce your own take on it eventually as to what works best for you. But none of them actually happens if you don't try and keep just seeking for, how should I do this? How should I do this? And you keep looking for videos. And I've been in that space as well. But okay, now I have a really long section. So I think after this, my hackled fiber is starting. So what I was getting at is that once you have tried it, you know, keep working on it, and then eventually you will be able to create the yarn you're trying to create. Um have I made a video of making the slubby singles? No, I haven't. There are plenty videos online. There is one by Susie Brown, Fibery Goodness on YouTube, which is really helpful. Uh, I used to make my thick and thin slubs a little differently than what she does, but once I watched her video, I picked up on a new trick where you let that twist come into your thick single to pull it up. Because what used to happen with my thick slubs was, like, you can see this, that it's nice and starts off thin, goes thick, and ends thin. I used to always have trouble with my start of my slub being a little messy. So she has a good trick on her YouTube video to show how to make your slubs nice and even from the top to the end. So that's a nice video that she has. I would suggest that if you just search for her, or if somebody knows that video, they can feel free to post it out here. My hands are occupied, otherwise I would go on Google searches right now. Maybe I should. Let me see. I probably have. I like saving videos on Google. I mean on YouTube, because I keep going back to them. Let's see. Spinning thick and thin. Yes, I found the video, so I'm just going to copy that link and post it here. So it went on YouTube, and it went on Twitch, and it went on my YouTube feed, but it did not go on my Facebook feed. So let me just put that out there. It's SUZY. So hold on. Give me a second. Give me a second. That's her video. Okay. Let's see if that came through. Yeah, I think that did. Yes, I'm on Twitch as well. So this feed basically gets relayed on Twitch as well as YouTube, and to my Patreons. So uh, the Patreons get an update whenever I go live, or if you have turned on your notifications on Twitch or YouTube, you get a notification as well. Sometimes my live feeds are only for Patreon, so then I don't go live in other places. Patreons get some advantages when I release new work and things like that. So, all right. Okay, I have a feeling that these slubs are from the hackled fiber, because I can feel they are so much more puffier and much well defined, and the colors are very blended, which is what I had realized when I was spinning the thick and thin from. I need to increase my take up a little bit. These slabs are bigger in size. And I have, in the past, picked up some neat tricks on making thick and thin slabs from JC Boggs Faulkner, Sarah Anderson. They have some cool tips on that as well. So there are lots of resources on it. But and I have picked up like different things from different people. Like I know it was Susie's video with which I figured out how to make my slabs very clean from the very top as well, and not just at the bottom. So see, it's a very neat slab from the beginning to the end. What are the orange blocks? Don't look at that. That was supposed to be part of this yarn, and it was a complete fail. so so that's why first there was no plan on even going live. I was going to try something with the locks and this thick and thin, and it was just getting very frustrating, and so I just gave up. So I don't know if you can see these. Look at these beehives. Now, if you had seen the other ones, they were very distinctively purple, blue, different colors. But these have this very cool shading on them, and that I have been able to achieve because I had taken that same top, put it on the hackle, dizzed it off, and made my thick and thin slabs out of that. And the definition of these is super cool. And plus, the color shading is a whole different thing. So it's different for sure. And like I was saying, I was wondering earlier whether I'll be able to tell the difference as soon as these slabs have started. And you can see they are so nice and crisp as well. I feel like dizzing all the fiber now. It's just makes for such a clean and neat spin. Yeah, these beehives are very crisp, very clean, because my thick sections are very crisp and clean. So see, it really depends so much on how well your thick and thin is spun up in order to make nice and clean beehives. And having a really good prep fiber for making the thick and thin is very essential. Um, I find using undyed white fiber to be a lot easier to make because it drafts so much easier. And even once the fiber is dyed, uh, it might not be felted, but it does compact, because of which it makes it a little harder to you know draft it in order to do the thick and thin sections. And you really need to be able to draft your fiber easily and quickly in order to pull thick slabs out of it. So either use undyed fiber, or I would say if you have a hackle or something, do that. And you can definitely just use top. I've always used tops before, but now compared to using a top versus the fiber from the hackle, I definitely prefer this. The color distinctions are, it's more blended what comes out from the hackle, which you could also change. You could just load up your hackle in a way that your colors don't blend and are distinctive. So you get that freedom as well, which is pretty neat. I need to try some. Um, I'm just going to bring up some, let me finish two more beehives, and I'll show you some of my previous beehives that I did out of the hatted fiber. That fiber has been washed, and you can see how cool that fiber looks. So fiber prep, how you spin your thick and thin, all of that makes a big difference. So I'm just going to park this here for a second. And okay. So if you're going to do comparisons, right, of different beehives, let's do that. Okay. That's not a beehive yarn, so let's put that aside. Now, so this is my traditional way, that how I've always done them, and I really like the way they come out too. This is done from a top, and variegated colors. You do your thick and thin, and then you ply it up. Um, and I like the way these come out. Lots of fun. Very nice. They also come out nice and crisp, but drafting those thick sections can get a little hard if the fiber is compacted. So you have to consider that. Now this was a very smooth bat out of which the thick and thin sections were done, and then they were made into beehives. So it's a little textured. The beehives are not all going to be the same size because of the texture and all of that in it, but it still makes, pretty neat beehives in it. So this is from a very smooth bat. This one is made from a very textured bat. Lots of thick, slubby things in it, different textures, different colors. So you get beehives of all different shapes and sizes. But again, I really like this as well. There's nothing wrong with them, it's just different. So this is from a very textured bat out of which the thick and thin slabs were made, and then the beehives were spun. This one is from a top as well. So again, the top was spun thick and thin, particular colorway, and then plied up and then made into a thick and thin yarn. Very nice and simple. This one was actually coarse spun, and I need to work a little bit more on this. You can see there's quite a bit of twist in this fiber, so I need to figure out a way of how there is not so much twist in it. But I really like this look as well, where I can core spin on my core and then add a beehive of a very distinct color in it. And this was again a top that was used. So this is another way you can do beehives. Now this is from hackled fiber, and you can see the the color variations that you can get when the fiber is hackled. It's put on the hackle, dished off, and then you make the thick and thin, very smooth, very crisp, and you get very different kind of variations in your, even this one is done the same way. You can't see the color variations on this, I can, but it's really bright. It's neon yellow, orange, and pink. It's all reading as a plain solid orange on my screen, but this has a lot of variation in it. So there are lots of ways to do thick and thin yarns and spirals and beehives, and which was that very last one? Oh, my favorite one from yesterday, which was this one. So this one, it's not much yardage, but and these were very complex to do, but I'm still working on perfecting my technique so I can make more yardage out of them. But I really, really like them. They almost, somebody mentioned they look like spiders. Was it Evanita? I don't know. But they look like spiders that are dressed up in a ballroom. That's another way of doing them. That's core spun with a very thick textured bat and a very thick section, thick slabs for that one, very thick slabs. So if you have any questions on any of them, let me know. I'll see if I can answer. Yeah, these are the hacker ones are just so so amazing. I'm really liking them. It's because I was able to spin the thick and thin section very well, and the result of that is that my beehives are turning out very nice and crisp. I almost feel I always want to now use the hackle whenever I'm doing beehives or when I want these kinds of very crisp beehives. This is the way to go. My favorite thing to make with them, um, I like to insert them in weavings actually. Uh, I I have not knit with them to know like the best way to actually highlight them, but in weaving, it's like you can have a very plain fabric texture, and you can have just few strands of these. Like these, I purposely have two of them together. So imagine a whole bunch of fabric with few areas where you have two beehives kind of scattered all around the scarf or the fabric that you're making. And once you have so you use it as a weft, and so the warp threads kind of they usually land up in between the ridges, or you can have the entire beehive poke out of your warp, and it really highlights. And there are people who have done some beautiful things with this kind of yarn. I haven't done a lot. I've done some sari weaving in which I've used them, and I really like them in that. But I would like to make some good yardage with just plain weaving, and then have these beehives just highlighted throughout. I actually have some fabric planned to do that with, but we'll see when I get the time to do it. And more often than not, I just like looking at them. Like them hanging on my wall, and I like squishing them, and I like them placed in a bowl. Uh, they are really something. So today's live is kind of pretty unscheduled. I'm talking about people in the Fibery Goodness group. We are going to have a scheduled event as well where Susie will put me on the calendar and then you can all tune in at that time, and I'll go live exclusively for the Fivery Goodness group where I'm doing my artist in residence program. So then I will be spinning some yarn there. I don't know what yet, but then we can even chat there. And if you have any questions, I think we're looking for early March currently to schedule something. Susie is pretty busy getting the new issue out by the end of this month of the Tiny Studio magazine. So once that is done, we can have a live interactive event exclusively to the Fiber Goodness group. Section didn't look like a pretty nice thick section, so I just kind of let it go, which is fine too. Okay, now I'm coming across again hackled, but I added some extra sparkle to this hackle. Ooh, check that out. I do like how the sparkle is coming off the beehives. The white part that you see out here, that's some bamboo as well that I added to the hackle just to make it more fun. Okay, do you all want a bobbin shot? There, let's do that so they can see the cool stuff that is collecting on the bobbin. These are not spaced two together, they're like individual beehives. When I was doing the texture, I just kind of wanted to, add the sparkle, and I'm like, okay, it's too much stuff happening, so let's just let each beehive stand on its own. So if you do enjoy my live feeds, definitely consider contributing to my Patreon. I have different levels uh, with which you get notifications of whenever I go live. Every level is different. The you could contribute as less as $3 a month, and that just shows you're basically supporting me and uh, getting to watch all the live feeds, which is fun, right? I hope it is fun. Look at that. Hopefully entertaining to watch, right? It's definitely, I really enjoy spinning beehives. And if my thick and thin is spun just perfectly, they make the experience of making them even better. And that beehive that has bits of bamboo in it as well. Oh, thank you, Chelsea. Thank you for joining in. I just have a little bit of this fiber left, and even I will be done. I've been doing this for an hour now. Bobbin is filling up as well. This looks like a little messed up thick section, but So you can always add that twist in it and clean it up in that process. See, a lot better. And more twist. There, it's not that ugly anymore. Still a little fuzzy, but that's what the key is like if your thick and thin is not spun well, your beehives don't turn out that great. Perfect. to the end. I managed to put it all on one board, and which is nice. And that's the end of it. That was the last beehive. And tie a knot in there. But you can see what it looks like. So I have a lot more room. I could definitely do more, but I'm done. This is all the thick and thin I had spun up. So there was the regular top you saw initially, then you saw the fiber that I had dished off from the hackle with just the top, and then it was again fiber that was dished off but with sparkle and some bamboo in it. So that was it. Hope this was fun. Thank you everyone for joining in. Thank you for all the Patreon members who have been supporting me to see these live feeds. Uh, Keep tuning in and watching what's next. Take care. Bye.